Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Sever7 and today we are taking a look at the Ketuo Triad V3, and that's with the ultimate goal of seeing if it's worth adding to your collection or your daily carry rotation. Now this was sent to me by the Lefty Pass Around group. The designer is FD Design and the OEM is Ketuo Knives. Now before we jump into this, I want to cover something very important. So I'm a designer for Ketuo Knives, and I am the business-to-business sales manager for Ketuo Knives. So I want you to keep that in mind whenever you listen to my reviews for Ketuo Knives. Now, how can I be unbiased? And how could I potentially say, derogatory things about a company that I work for? And that's totally fair, right? That's totally fair. What I will say is that this is V3 of the Triad. They also have 3 versions of the Griffin. Ketuo's sole obsession is improving. It's all they care about. And if I want to be with a company that is growth oriented, I need to provide honest feedback. I'll tell you right now, this knife is a deal breaker that I wouldn't buy it. Now, it might not be a deal breaker for you guys, but it's a deal breaker for me. There's plenty of good things to say about this knife, but this is going to be one of the few knives where it's like I wouldn't buy it. So it is important to keep in mind, and I'll say this in other Ketuo knife videos, at least for a little while. But the company has so many versions and so many reiterations of knives, just trying to improve them. They swapped this from a button lock to a top liner lock, just trying to improve it. They've improved the action on it, the ergonomics on it. They've made many versions. They just want to keep getting better. And the only way to do that is through honest feedback. So my responsibility to you guys as my audience is not going to be affected by my responsibility to Ketuo to, drive their business to business sales. So, all right, let's jump into it. So for starters, we've got this beautiful blue Abyss carbon fiber. I really like Abyss carbon fiber. It's one of my favorites. The blue has got a lot of vibrancy to it. The colors pop, especially in the light. We've got this kind of, I don't really know what to call it, but like this interestingly machined pivot collar. We have a button for our top liner lock. We do have this really nice milled 3/4 backspacer. You guys take a look at that. It's deep milling too. It's actually enough milling to improve your grip on the knife. We do have a medium carry milled titanium pocket clip. It does have the Ketuo brand on it right there. We do have this safety lock, which does positively lock the blade out while it's open, so you cannot disengage it with the top liner lock, which I don't know that I'm sold on. I don't think it's necessary. This has all the same protections a liner lock would have, so I don't think it's... I just think this is busy, right? I think it's a little too busy. Nice kind of not stone wash, but I don't know, maybe a bead blast on that pocket clip. I think it looks really nice. Matches the backspacer. It is a reversible pocket clip. I personally don't mind taking a hit on the aesthetics of production knives to make them lefty friendly. If it's a custom knife, leave me alone. Right hand only. Don't bother me with this stuff. But then again, custom knives normally don't have reversible pocket clips. So not a big concern. All right, let's talk a little bit about the ergonomics. As far as the ergos go, nothing crazy. We've got kind of this mini gunner grip. I'm a big fan of this grip style because the handle kind of curves into your hand like a pistol grip would. And it just gives you a ton of comfort and a ton of control. You do have the ability to choke up, kind of do a bit of a trigger squeeze. So ergonomically, it's rather comfortable. This does provide a little extra traction. So if you're choking up, You have functional jimping up here that will actually stop your finger from sliding. Yeah. Yeah, it'll actually hold you in place. Unless you like meaningfully, like if your goal is to push past it, you'll get past it, but it locks you in pretty good. I'll say it's, well, hold on. Yeah, no, there's no hot spots there. It feels good. As always with these pocket clips, if they are flat and close to the scale, they're going to disappear in hand, right? There's nothing pokey. The edges are nicely rounded. Ergonomically, this thing fits very, very, very well. And I will note that you can ignore the button completely and just disengage with the liner lock, which I think is a nice touch. You could operate this knife completely without touching the button. And then just to show you, locked up, I can push this button. It will not go all the way. And pushing the button down and wiggling the blade, it's not going to disengage. As soon as I take that lock off, it free falls. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this blade. This is one of the highlights to this knife for me. Huge fan of harpoon anything, even more of a fan if it's a tanto, right? So we have this nice, beautiful harpooned swedge. We've got a dual grind with this being a flat. No, I'm sorry. This is a hollow grind. This is a flat grind up here. It's the perfect combination of robust functional tip, but plenty of slicing capability right back here. We have a beautiful belt satin on the blade. Huge fan of that. We are rocking M390 blade steel. So, I mean, you know, M390 is going to have, I don't have them all memorized yet, but I want to say it's going to have very low toughness. It's going to have pretty good edge retention, and it's going to be very corrosion resistant. But this blade is very handsome looking, very refined, aggressive, and I am a tremendously huge fan of it. It's going to be very functional. I mean, yeah, it's just going to be super functional. Oh, that's right. I knew what I was forgetting. The sharp onion choil and the stop pin placement. So it looks like the stop pin is going to land right here. So you're not going to be able to put in your own sharpening choil. However, edge termination's right here, and you've got plenty of life to sharpen off of this. I don't know exactly how many sharpenings that's going to turn into. It depends on what angle you sharpen your knife at. Obviously, if you have a much thinner angle, or a much, not thinner angle, I would say if you have a much, would I say higher angle? I think so. But basically, if you are, let's say this knife is, and I'm not saying it is, but let's say this knife is at 1800 degrees. Man, I feel like I'm saying the wrong thing. Not degrees. You know what, guys? Forgive me. Because I don't know. My brain's a little bit jumbled right now. So we're just going to say if you sharpen this aggressively, you're going to get fewer sharpenings out of it. Whereas if you keep the edge angle the same, you'll get more sharpenings out of it. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the action. So top liner lock has the benefit of the ease of use of a button, but since we still have a liner, you still get an actual detent, which is fantastic. Button liner locks, plunge locks, these things are far superior. Not plunge locks, but button liner locks and compression locks are far superior to plunge locks. Because with a plunge lock, you don't have a detent ball. You just have a button that pushes a spring. and that's all the tension you get. And that tension is applied evenly throughout the deployment, which means you don't really get a satisfying snap. You don't feel that detent ball break and the knife fly out. You more, instead of getting a slow snap, you get more of a medium, 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 medium clank, right? So, you know, button locks, I mean, they're fine. And if you like them, you like them. But if you're kind of an action snob, top liner locks are infinitely better. So with this being a top liner lock, we have the benefit of having nice, snappy action. This knife gives us thumb studs. We get a window cutout to flick from. We get a rear flipper, and then we get a front flipper. This knife is Burger King. You can have it your way. Any way you want to deploy it. You know, you can even switch deployment methods and pretend like it's a new knife. Be like, I'm just going to use the rear flipper today. I'm going to close my eyes and pretend like it's a Shiro. Front flipper only. This just became a Gareth Bull Shemwari. We're going to hit it right here. Demco 80-20.5. And thumb studs. We're right back to the Ketuo Triad. You know what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong. This doesn't have the same action as a Gareth Bull Shemwari or a Shiro. But the action is very nice. Acoustics are great. We get a nice clacky snap up and a nice ting on the way down. This thing would definitely go into the fidget beast category. Not only because like it would be fidget beast if it only had one or two of these deployment methods, but the fact that it gives you, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You get 7 deployment methods. Yeah, this thing is a fidget monster times 2. If fidgeting matters to you, you will enjoy this knife. Now, I said earlier that there was a deal breaker for me. And I'll tell you exactly what that deal breaker is. You already know. That is a criminally short blade for the amount of handle we have. We could have redone this backspacer to not be so high up. We could have cut off a good portion of this handle. We could have made this work. No idea why we went this route. I know some designers don't care about blade to handle ratio as much as others. And in all honesty, it doesn't look terrible, but I can see this. And I can't stand it. Blade to handle ratio is incredibly important to me. And while this is a fantastic knife through and through, and if the blade to handle ratio was on point, I would buy this knife 100%. I simply cannot justify it because, you know, the blade to handle ratio looks off. If this was the bottom of the knife, I would still be saying you could squeeze a 1/16 of an inch in there. You could. But the fact that this isn't the bottom of the knife, this is the bottom. We have like half an inch where we're just missing. And to me, that's a deal breaker. So as much as I enjoy the knife, I could look past the safety lock. The fidgeting is fantastic. I'm just a really big fan of it overall. The blade shape is to die for. I love that. I'd probably give it a flipper delete since we have so many other options. But I just can't with this. I can't do it. So, all right. Let's talk about specs. Overall length is 7.81 inches. Blade is 3.2 inches. And the blade to handle ratio, as expected, is a 0.69. Anything over 0.7 is acceptable, but the closer you are to 0.8, the closer you are to having that kind of 50-50 Shirogorov look. And even though this knife doesn't look terrible, it's, yeah, you already know. The weight on this knife is 3.2 ounces. Size comparisons up against the milled aluminum Civivi Brazen, third best Civivi ever made, next to the Visions, although I'm not sure it's going to maintain that position for long because some of the new Civivis coming out look pretty fire. There's one called like the Hydro Flame, I think, and that one might beat it out based on its looks. The Real Steel Sylph. Let me bring these up a little bit. I feel like I've been favoring the bottom of the camera for this video. Not sure why. So we're coming in bigger than the Sylph, smaller than the Brazen. And then my favorite budget knife of the year so far, the Migron Gotov. I've got 3 knives in mind from Migron that I think would beat this out. I just don't have my hands on them. I'm trying to get them. They're sold out. We are coming in quite a bit larger than the Migron Gotov. All right, so what's the price on this guy? The price ranges, depending on where you get it, between $215 and $235. Is this worth that price? If this doesn't bother you, absolutely. If you have no issue with this, if you just don't care about this, then yes. The fit, finish, quality, execution. I mean, we're talking Ketuo, right? Sister companies with Reich. You know, Ketuo has released some absolute fire lately. I mean, you can just look at the reviews. Look at MC's reviews. Look at Lefty EDC's reviews. I mean, the Bratva with the mirror finish blade. The Dirty Bird. I mean, just look at that thing. There's never been a knife that looks like it ever. With that, like, polished finish gold and blue. You know, Ketuo is, I mean, their machining and their precision, that stuff's all on point. And that the same is true for this knife, right? The fact that it's a button liner lock, plus you can disengage it from the liner. All the different fidgeting, ouch, I'm a dummy. All the different fidgeting options that you have with this knife really makes it a delight to carry. They probably could have taken the jimping up and over. And then the blade just looks super good. And it's super functional. This is definitely your EDC knife. You know, we have a nice robust tip, very handsome harpoon. You know, we've got this flat grind, super slicey. I mean, yeah. Had the end of the handle been right here, I probably would have bought 2 of them. I just can't. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. So, yes, if that doesn't bother you, this is a highly recommendable knife, especially for around $200. If you get it at White Mountain Knives or something like that, you can get it for 10% off. Drops it down to about $195. You know, keep in mind, Ketuo's machining at, I would say, you know, right there with right there with Reich, right there with Riot. They have some of the best, most precision machining in the game. I mean, they just execute on another level, and that's part of that consistent improvement, right? So hopefully, now that I've dogged them enough, hopefully they'll pay more attention to the blade to handle ratio, because I know there's others like me that would love this knife that will simply ignore it because the blade to handle is way too wonky. So, I mean, let me ask you, for me, this would be a daily carry. Is this a collection piece for you? Would you daily carry this? Or does this knife miss the mark for you entirely? Do you have the same issue I have with the blade to handle ratio? Is that a pet peeve, or am I overreacting? Let me know down in the comments. I'm really interested to read your thoughts. If you guys like the content, if you like the video, please hit the like button. It really helps me out. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. And guys, until the next time, peace.